What's up? Country Boy Fisherman here. Thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel. Alright, today we're going to go over a video that is probably, you've heard it, you probably asked it, and today we're going to get into it, and I have got the research, the test, and the background that I've actually done a thorough test to prove this myth. And that is, which casts is further? A bait caster or a spin reel? Now, with that being said, you probably heard, oh, bait casters cast further, bait casters, are supreme. Well, I wanted to see if this was true. So I was like, I'm going to do a test. Now, we're going to start off this one because it's the closest one too. This is a Lewis Speed Spool Classic Pro bait caster. It has 5 bearings in it, magnetic brakes, tension, like everything a bait caster would have. Alright. And it is spooled, I don't know if y'all can see it, with 30-pound braid on here. So that, and it's got 130 yards of 30-pound braid. Alright. We'll come back to this in a few seconds. The runner-up is a Penn Pursuit spin reel. It's a 3000. Now, the reason I chose these two particular reels, they're a lot similar compared to what they actually are. Yes, this is a spin reel, that one's a bait caster. But this is a Penn Pursuit 3000. Both of these, the bait caster and this, holds exactly 130 yards of, again, you guessed it, 30-pound braid. So, with that being said, I figured, that way the weight wouldn't change that much, and I could use that as a gimmick. So I mean, I can make sure that there was no weight difference in the spool as far as that goes, because obviously, when they're both having 130 yards on there, they got the exact same weight. As far as the line goes, I bought a spool of 30-pound braid. That spool was 300 yards. I put that way that y'all can't say it's a different batch. Maybe that line's better than the other line you bought. It came off the same exact spool of line that I bought. So both of these, this and that, the bait caster, both have the exact same line up there from the same reel. Now, as far as the rods go, that's the only part that it varies. This is I cannot pronounce the name of it, Krivic rod. It is 8 foot long. It's medium action. Now, the reason I say they don't match on the rod, I'm not going to lie on the test, is this one right here is a 7-foot rod. So it's about a foot shorter. It's also, again, a medium action rod. Same action. So the action does not change. One is just a foot shorter than the other. Now, why is that significant? I'll get back to that at the end of this video. Why that's very insignificant. And what I was going to do if it had been. So there you go. What I did is I used, on both tests, I used a 3/4 ounce lead bottom, a 3/4 ounce lead, y'all have to bear with me. I don't edit none of my videos. This is how, y'all don't have a good time with me. I don't edit none of my videos. So, I think it's more of a humorous thing. So, y'all see all the mistakes that I make during the video. So, I just go with it. I use a 3/4 inch bobber, that's clip-on bobber. And then, of course, I got a barrel swivel with 1/2 ounce lead weight. Now, both of these, the spin rod and the bait caster, both had this during the cast. That's all I used. That way they had the exact same weight. They'd have the exact same wind resistance for the bobber. Everything. So everything would not be the difference. Okay, And I was like, okay, so, when I threw this, I threw both of them 3 times. As hard as I could, basically, as they say, I cracked the whip. Now, before I get into the results, let me explain to you what I mean by this. The baitcaster that I have here, I had it in send it mode. What that means is I don't know if y'all can see it when this building, because of I had this tension knob all the way backed off. It had no tension on this bull. And I had my magnetic brakes at minimal, which means it did not have no resistance on this bull. I was literally casting and doing this the entire time to make sure it did not burn this into catastrophic failure. So, I do not recommend that. I'm going to throw that out there towards the beginner, because if you don't know how to thumb the spool, it will burn this and you will have a very bad day doing that. But I did it for the test 3 times. Again, had very little issue with it when I did it. And this right here, the baitcaster, I casted it 3 times, again, with the 1/2 ounce lead weight and a 3/4 inch bobber, almost an inch bobber wide. And again, a 7-foot rod. And for 3 times, I got the three distances, and I divide that by 3 to get my overall average. I thought that was the fairest way to do it. And with that being said, I threw it, and I got it right around 62 yards average. Really about 62.5 if y'all want to be like, y'all some of y'all are OCD and y'all got to be exact pinpoint. It was actually 62.4, 62.5 exact. But I just rounded it down to 62 because I did all mine that way. So with that being said, it casted right at 62 yards average when I casted it with a 1/2 ounce lead weight like this and threw it as hard as I can with a 7-foot rod. Now, again, excuse my allergies because, like I said, I don't edit my videos, so y'all gonna have fun with that one. Another thing, what I did was, again, I used this. Again, same setup. I don't have the bobber on it because I just used it a few days ago after the test. But as you can see, it still got the 1/2 ounce lead weight. It did have the bobber on it. I took the bobber off because, like I said, I was bottom fishing for, I believe, spots last weekend. So, after the test, that is. So, that is, like I said, they both have 130 yards braid on it. Both of them have 130 yards. Both of them have 30-pound braid. So that way there would be no difference in the diameter. But this one, like I said, was about 1 foot longer. Now, I casted this one as hard as I could 3 times. And it got that average. That average was exactly dead on 64 yards. Now, had it been a great distance, like a great variation, I was going to put the baitcaster on here and use the 8-foot rod as, a point for both the baitcaster and this. But we're talking, we'll go ahead and knock it down. 2 yards. Now, if you don't know what 2 yards is, that's about 6 feet. There's 3 yards. There is 3 feet in each yard in 1 yard. So you're talking about 6 foot of distance difference between this and the baitcaster. And not only did I ask other people, like professional anglers and other anglers such as like amateurs like myself. I consider myself an amateur. I asked them as well, and they also said the exact same thing. They said that they casted the spin reel a lot further than they can a baitcaster, which my test results today, well, not today, I didn't do it today, but the way I did do it kind of concurred to this scenario. I casted this about 2 yards further. Again, not nothing significant. I mean, you're talking about a foot difference. And yes, to be honest, that 1 foot could have been the reason why I casted 2 yards further. So you're seeing where I'm going with this probably. Like this right here is the one that has the 8-foot rod. So I could have gotten 2 more yards because it was 8 foot long. Whereas right here was only 7 foot. It only went 62 yards. So you're seeing like it had more of an advantage, but yeah, it only went 2 yards further. So my take from this, a spin reel doesn't cast no further than a bait caster. Now, I use both of these in the test because, again, they're so similar together. They both hold the same amount of line. They both hold 30 pounds braid. And the only difference was it was an 8-foot rod. That one right there was a 7-foot rod. That was the only difference. Both of them are a medium action rod. So, with that being said, I used these two because they were so similar. And again, I got similar results. Like I said, the 2 yards, I could technically chalk it up to being an 8-foot rod. I'm pretty sure that if I put the baitcaster on this, I could probably get 64 yards out of it too. I mean, because it'd be a little bit longer, you would have a little bit more leverage. So yeah, I mean, with that being said though, 62 to 64 yards, my verdict, and this is my opinion. Like I said, and I've asked other anglers, they say the same thing. Me personally, when I'm going fishing for panfish, like bluegill, crappie, bass, I prefer these bait casters. When I'm going out, for catfish at night, I just feel more comfortable with a spin reel because you don't got to really worry about them backlashing. Especially at night when you cannot see it. When you cannot see them. So therefore, that's what I come up with a verdict on. Where to me, they are significantly about the same. I see no advantage in one bait caster over another one. Over the spin reel, that is. Like I said, they casted around within 2 yards of each other. And again, that 2 yards could have easily been that 8-foot rod. So, I mean, even if it wasn't, you're talking about 2 yards, y'all. Like, that's 6 foot. In fishing, that 2 foot, like 6 foot. I mean, fish can swim. Like, you're talking about 6 foot is about what I am tall. So, I mean, you're not really, I mean, first of all, I have never seen a fishing scenario in freshwater, I will say, anyway. That's what these right here are. I use mostly for. It's freshwater. I have never seen a time where I need to cast 64 yards. So, except for maybe at the beach, maybe. But other than that, I have never seen a time where I needed to cast that far. So, with that being said, I have pretty much busted this myth. Which cast versus the bait caster or the spinning rod? My opinion, they're both the exact same. I cannot say, I mean, I have actually, as far as, got them similar, there is really no difference in my book. Like, I can cast a spin rod about as far as I can that one. Again, that one had no tension on it. And so, I mean, I was literally using my thumb only to stop the spool from bird nesting. So when it was getting looped up, which I don't know what that means. If you ever threw a bait caster, you know what that means. It was getting ready to bird net. I would just bump it so it would not do it. Just feather the top of the spool. And I only got 2 yards difference. With that being said, my verdict on this is it's busted. Like, neither one casts further, really. Because I don't consider, like I said, 2 yards significant enough to say, oh, well, this one casts, this one right here, obviously, casts further because it did it 2 yards ahead. Now, I will say, y'all, from my, I grew up with spinning rods. I grew up with spinning reels. So, this right here was my first bait caster. So, with that being said, I always, take those with a grain of salt. But then again, I'm more proficient with a spin reel because, like I said, I've had them all my life. They're easy to use. I will not even debate that. They're easy to use, and especially at night, you can really launch them and not have to worry about it bird nesting before it hits the water, because like they don't really bird nest. I've never met anybody who can bird nest a spin reel. So I mean, because they don't really, when you open the bill, they just fall off the line. The spool don't actually move. So with that being said, there's your myth. I busted it. Which cast further? They're tied. That's my opinion. The baitcasters, spin rod, again, two similar rods and reels. Like I said, the only difference is this right here was an 8 foot. This right here was a 7 foot. Everything else was the exact same line, same poundage, same everything, same weight that I was casting. So again, I still got the exact same, almost within 2 yards of each other. So which one casts further? It's a tie. The spin rod or the baitcaster. And like I said, I've asked professionals, I've asked amateurs, and they said the same thing, that they can launch this further. I think one of the reasons why is because people are more comfortable with these, because there's a lot less problem where you can throw it. And also, these are also a lot more easier to take apart and grease once a year than the baitcasters are. So, with that being said, that's why a lot of people use these for. I'm guilty of it. They are a lot more or less maintenance. So, but that, I wanted to go ahead and do this video and show people. And that'll be my title of my video if you're watching. That's probably what brought you here. Which cast is further, a baitcaster or a spinning rod? And, well, they're a tie. Because I don't consider 2 yards being a significant amount of distance, especially in fishing, which you're talking about 2 yards, 6 feet. I don't consider that enough to worry about, making a difference in the actual distance-wise. My next video, I'm still doing some tests on those, which will be which casts more accurately, the baitcaster or the spinning rod. Now that one so far has gave me some interesting results. So y'all have to stay tuned for that next video that I do. You'll be waiting to see it. I'm still doing some research on it. But like I said, I've done millions of tests on this, for this, spin rod and the baitcaster. And like I said, they both casted the exact same. I got the rods about the same length as I could. And like I said, they were within 2 yards of each other. So in my opinion, they're tied. Which means a spin rod does not cast no further than a baitcaster does. Again, I had my tension knob all the way off. I had, the same weight. So if you use the same weight, same everything, a spin rod will not cast no further, in my opinion, than a baitcaster will. I mean, I've done this test with actually 2 different rods. I just bought this rod a few weeks ago, and did the test again to make sure it wasn't, because the other one was only a 6.5 foot rod. I only got about maybe, and I think with a 6.5 foot rod, I believe I got 64 yards once. One time I did. Now, if you're wondering how I knew how far I threw it, I'll go ahead and tell you all that. One, you have to go online and look up your inch retrieval on your reel. For example, I'll give you an example. This right here, Pin Pursuit 3000. It is every time this handle goes around one time, it reels in 33 inches. So that means every turn is 33. So you just count how many turns you do to get it back to where you had it when you casted it. And that was going to give you, then you take that number, you divide that by 12, which is a foot. And then you divide that number by 3. And that tells you the yardage that you just cast. That's how I got my results. I did the same thing with this. This baitcaster, it's a 30-inch retrieval, which means every time this handle goes around one time, it reels in 30 inches. Which means if you do 60, you take 60 turns, times that by 12, you get how many inches you just reeled in. Divide that by 3, which is the yardage. I'm sorry. You take the turns, you times that by 12, That will give you the inches, and then you divide that by 3. And that will give you the actual yardage, which means basically, I know that, for example, I can't tell you off the top of my head. This right here, I was doing 60 turns per cast. There was one time I did like a 64 turns, but overall 60 turns. You take 60 times it by 12, you got like 1,000 something number. Divide that by 3, which is how many yards is in the foot. And that will tell you just how many yards you casted in yardage wise. Now, you want feet, you just times it by 12. 30 inches times that by... I'm sorry. I told y'all wrong. Like I said, this is why I don't ever edit my videos. Because like I said, I show y'all I'm not professional. I mess up myself. I just told y'all wrong. No, what it is like this right here is 60 yards. You take 60, you times that by 33. I'm sorry, 30. So here's 30 inches. So 60 on this one, you do 60 times that by 30 inches for the retrieval. Every time this handle goes around once, that's 30 inches. So 60 turns that you did, times that by 30, that gives you how many inches you just reeled up, which will usually be around, for this one, 1,000 some change. Then you take that, divide that by 12. That will give you how many feet you did. If you want the yardage, again, there's 3 feet to every yard. You divide it by 3. That will tell you how many yards you did. That's how I got up with 62 yards on this one. So I just wanted to go over that so y'all can see just how I got my numbers. That is how I do my numbers, like I said, because the real turn, the gear power never changes. The gear ratio never changes. So no matter how much I cast, that gear ratio will never change. So that would be the most accurate way to decide this. So let me know in the comments whether or not, you can cast a baitcaster further. I mean, I'm curious to see if anybody can't actually cast a baitcaster further than they can a spin reel. Again, with me, it's the exact same. I can't cast a baitcaster no further than I can a spin reel. To me, if you get the same spin reel, same baitcaster, same rod, same weight, to me, I get almost the exact same results on casting distance. So y'all take care. Wait for that next video to come out. Thank you, and God bless you.